The kind of tubes that you see in front of you were very popular, well, not say very popular, but common in early 1920s radios. You know, the UV199. So a 3-volt tube that was designed to be ultra-low filament current draw, designed for running off dry batteries. The previous kind of tube before this one was the UV201, or 201A, and that was high current. The UV201 had a filament current of 1 amp, and the 201A dropped that down to 1/4 of an amp. So a pretty heavy current draw, and those were designed for running off wet batteries, or the lead acid batteries. You have to charge up every time you wanted to use the radio. But these were supposed to be better, lower current, and unfortunately, because of that, their filaments are a lot more fragile than the UV201s, I believe, and these are very hard to find in working condition. Whereas it's pretty common, you can get O1 tubes, not too expensive to get those, but very expensive to get good ones of these. Almost all the ones you see are dead, as are all of these. All have open filaments. So, what do you do when you need a set of these for a 1920s radio? Well, you can make counterfeit ones. In this case, we will be using 3Q5s. So what we're going to do, the 3Q5 is a pentode. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 3Q5s and transfer them onto these bases. Now when you do that, you have to do a little bit of wiring trickery inside the base to convert this pentode into a triode. Now you can see I've already split the bases on these to try and get them apart. I just took a pair of cutters like this and put one end in the hole and just cut it, and the base usually just splits right in two. Of course, I did manage to break one tube, so I've got to order a replacement for that, but the other 5 all worked perfectly. You can see I've already got the base off of this one, and you can see the getter in there is still in good shape. Same with this one. Of course, it's not focusing on that, but if it would, there you go. You can see the getter is still nice and shiny, no problems. And of course, in the broken tube, the getter has gotten all cloudy because air got in. You can see the crack right there. So, that one didn't work out. The rest seem to have worked. Just split the base on these other ones. And what I'm going to do now is heat up the pins and wick off the solder so I can get the rest of the base off. And I'm also going to mark where the key is so I know what wires are what. When it's like this, then you have no idea what you originally had, so just the mark there tells you where the key was. You can deduce what pins are what. And then we're going to get on to wiring. I think there's at least 2 resistors that have to go in between these pins here, and then they get connected to these 4-pin bases, which we're going to steal off of these tubes. That one's not loose. I thought some of these were loose. That one's loose. That one's loose. So hopefully we can just pull these apart without too much trouble. If not, if we have to break these tubes, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to be using them anyway. They are only for display. So that one's loose as well. I did come across one of these tubes with a good filament, but of course the base was loose, and as I tried to remove it from the radio, the base broke off and broke one of the wires. But I did check the 2 filament wires, and there was filament continuity, but unfortunately either the plate or the cathode wire had broken, so then it tube useless anyway. But hopefully we can make our required 6 UV199 counterfeits. Some of you may be able to guess what radio these are going to go in, based on the number of tubes that it requires. I don't think there were that many radios that used 6 UV199 tubes. Most only used 1 or 2. But anyway, let's get on with this process, and I'll show you once I get all these bases off and have it wired up, how the thing gets wired. This was not my design. I stole this design from somebody else who went through and figured out what would be the best substitute tubes to use and how to wire them and what resistor values to use and everything. So this is not my design, I just saw from somebody else's. I will try to remember to link that in the video description in case you want to make your own counterfeit UV199s. Okay, I got these pretty much wired up here, and added some extension wires to the bottom because these bases can't fit over the bottom of the tube, so the tube has to sit like this. So these wires on here wouldn't reach all the way down to the pins, so let's add some extension wires on there. As far as the connections here go, remember these are pentode tubes, and we're turning them into triode tubes. So these have 3 grids where the triode only has 1. You don't need the 3rd grid, so the pin, you can just cut that off. I'm not sure if you can see it all the way down in there, it's just a little stub now. For the 3rd grid, you want to install the instructions that I found, not in focus, the instructions that I found said a 180k ohm resistor in between the anode and grid 2. I only had 220k ohm resistors, so I just put a 220k ohm between the anode and grid 2. You want to put a 270 ohm resistor between the 2 filament terminals, just so that the current draw is ideal, or is exact to the original UV199. And then this is just the grid 1, which will be the only grid for the triode version. There is a standard way that the pins come out of the tube. Usually it's anode, because you can see, I'm not sure if you can see, but they actually come out in a straight row out of the bottom of the tube, and they're bent around to fit the tube socket. So usually it's anode, grid 2, filament, grid 3, filament, and grid 1. Usually is how they come out. I did have one tube that had them in a different order, but you can also usually just look at the side here and see, like you can see the, if I show it, you can see this is the anode, this shell. You can see that pin comes down the side here and goes right out, so that's your anode pin coming out right there. I did finish one of them. This one I used silicone to glue the base on, but I think I'm going to use hot glue for the others because it's still a little jelly, and I don't want it to break off because these tubes you put in and then push down and twist to insert them, so I don't want the base to come off. So I think I'll use hot glue on the rest of them, and that'll be about it. Just have to break these bases off so I can use them, and we'll show you and also later I'll show you the page where I got these directions from. And so there are my completed 6 UV99 counterfeit tubes. I put the real one in here. I don't think you can tell the difference, can you? I think those will pass as counterfeit UV99s. So now I just have to put them in the radio and hopefully they will work.